Hello there, so I'm in the garden today because it's pretty windy, and this one is called Reclaiming Yourself. So I've reached the point that the potatoes have been going utterly ballistic in terms of their incredible growing powers in the big raised bed which I built this early spring. Carrots and beetroot thriving. The existing lettuces have been taken out and I've put some lamb's lettuce in instead. And these are the onions and the lobelias, looking particularly gorgeous with the beetroot there. Some herbs. So yeah, this one is called Reclaiming Yourself, and it's inspired by a conversation that I had today in the Lazy Gecko Cafe in Glastonbury. So it's because I started to tell my friend about Aleister Crowley, the famous Western occultist, hated and feared by some, revered and idolised by others, and like everything, the middle way is the best way to understand him. So here we have some nasturtiums growing in amongst the beans. So what happened to Aleister Crowley is that he allowed himself to become enslaved by two habits. First of all, cocaine, and then heroin. Two really strong habits to become enslaved by. And my friend was pointing out that when a person allows themselves to become enslaved by habit, it is actually a gift in disguise, because when you become enslaved by a habit, that gives you the possibility of allowing yourself to go through the journey where you eventually become so pissed off by this habit you've enslaved yourself to that you then put out a great deal of effort and you eventually become freed by the habit that you become enslaved by. So this is an opportunity that we have. So here we're looking at the courgettes, and actually there's a pumpkin plant which is just growing and growing and growing, and if I take a step back past the flowering leek plants, you can see there's another one. This is all one plant, by the way, this pumpkin plant, all one plant. So it's got these three incredible, extraordinary shoots. Just look how it's going. Amazing, isn't it? So there you are. That's that sense of life and aliveness. So this is what can happen. You can eventually reach the point where you have been enslaved by habit to such an extent you can realise how much your freedom is being restricted, how much you're not able to be who you truly want to be. And that is actually the impetus, that's the motivational power to develop that unbending intent where you suddenly choose to say to yourself, enough. And when you say that to yourself, enough, that is what gives you the motivational power to free yourself from what had become a pervasive, enslaving habit. So it's good to know that if you are completely enslaved by something like a toxic chemical that you take on a daily basis, eventually you will reach that point where you say enough. And when you reach that point, that's when you develop that unbending intent, and then it's when you start to cut down and finally cut out that substance which no longer serves you. Oh, and look, there's a beautiful bumblebee just come up as an omen. Bees represent qualification, so this bumblebee is saying that it's this ability to let go of that pervasive toxic habit that actually confers upon you a qualification. And that qualification is that of having been a person that was enslaved, that's developed unbending intent, and you do it on your own. That's the thing. When a person becomes free from a toxic habit, ultimately they realise there comes a point when It's down to you. It's down to you. And that's how you become free, when you realise the power is in your hands. It's not in anybody else's. And there goes the bumblebee, free off on its journey. So that's it. That's what we can do. We can finally reach that point of gratitude and appreciation for a habit that we became enslaved by, for giving us the gift of developing the unbending intent and then manifesting that ability and freeing ourselves from that habit. So there's a wonderful gift which is thus manifested. So to all those that are struggling with a habit that they've become enslaved by, I wish you the power that is your own. I wish you the unbending intent to survive and to thrive. And I wasn't going to go into this, but actually I'm going to, because I've just been instructed to. This year there's a particular pest called the black fly, a black aphid, and this year it is absolutely ravaging some plants. And the plant that is ravaging very severely, you can see in a moment, there we are. That's right, it's these runner beans really being ravaged. And yet, despite that, this plant says, I survive, I thrive. And there they are, look at that. Beautiful flowers, still going for it. And it's the same with this pumpkin plant. This pumpkin plant actually at its source is completely ravaged by the aphids, and its response is, I survive, I thrive, I grow, I push the boundaries, I keep going. And there you are, that's a pumpkin. That will become a pumpkin, and there's the flower. So really inspiring stuff. Wonderful plants as metaphors for us growing, surviving and thriving. All the love to you.